Hey everyone, it's future Paul Bunyan here. I did have a segment in here about my opinions about the OGL fiasco, but then I looked at the news while editing and, seems that problem has taken care of itself. You can go check out the news, but apparently they're going back to OGL 1.0 and putting everything under a Creative Commons license. I'm not an expert on that stuff. I am an expert on lore, and thankfully we get to stop stressing about OGLs and focus on the fun stuff. Enjoy. I have discussed many kinds of dragons of the metallic classification, ranging from fanatical enemies of evil to greedy pranksters and completely self-absorbed socialites. But none of them are what you may truly call good. Indeed, there is only one kind of dragon that I would grant that title: the Silver Dragons. Silver dragon wormlings are hatched from large, oval-shaped eggs that have a slightly silvery shine. They look as if they were dipped into liquid silver and smoothed over by a delicate jeweler's hands. When the dragon hatches, its scales are a blue-gray with only minor silver highlights. As the dragon reaches adulthood, its scales smooth out, and the color brightens to such a brilliant shine that the dragon appears to be made out of a single solid piece of silver. Though if you were to look closely, you would still see thousands of small individual scales. The most telling aspect of a silver dragon is their brilliant head crest. Adult silver dragons have a spiny frill that rises high over their head, tracing down their neck all the way to the tip of their tail, splitting it perfectly in half. This frill is standing up when relaxed, but can be flexed to lay flat on the dragon's back. The dragon can use this frill as a kind of rudder during flight, granting it greater agility in the air, something that is much needed for a creature as massive as a silver dragon. A silver dragon also possesses spiny frills that project from its chin and cheekbones, almost like facial hair. When looking at a silver dragon head-on, it almost looks like a shield, hence the nickname Shield Dragons. The wings are another telling difference between a silver dragon and their metallic cousins. Most metallic dragons have manta ray-shaped wings that connect from the shoulders all the way down to their tails. Silver dragons possess a more standard bat wing shape of dragon wings. In fact, if you were to look at them side by side, a silver dragon's wings appear more like those of a red dragon. This similarity has led to many unfortunate encounters where adventurers thought they spotted a silver dragon flying overhead, only to be incinerated by the fiery maw of a red dragon. If you wish to avoid this fate, look at the phalanges, the fingers on the very tips of the dragon's wings. Red dragons have one, silver dragons have two. This difference can and will save your life from a fiery doom. These defining traits of a silver dragon grow more with age. Those rare individuals that achieve the status of ancient see the shine of their scales become so brilliant that it's almost reflective, like glass. The eyes of an ancient silver dragon have lost their pupils and whites, becoming as pits of pure liquid mercury. Silver dragons are highly adaptable and can live in nearly any environment, but they prefer lairs on cold mountain peaks, especially those that pierce high into the clouds above. Not for reasons of security, but rather privacy. Even the most sociable of dragons require a place to relax from time to time, and store their treasure hoard, of course. The high mountains are incredibly useful territories for their vantage point and easily defensible position. However, they are highly contested. The mountains are filled with all kinds of dangers: giants, rocks, hordes of orcs, and most worrisome of all, red dragons, who also crave the mountain peaks for their lairs. Once its territory has been established, silver dragons will excavate their living space within the icy cliffs and mountain heart. Younger dragons typically have only an entrance, a nest, a place for storing their food, guests, and their hoard. Older dragons, by contrast, especially those that have held on to the same territory for centuries, will carve out a multi-tiered palace hidden within the mountain. layer after layer of rooms of all kinds, from grand temples with exquisite art and altars to warm feasting halls and extensive kitchens, each room a tribute to the dragon's life, as its lair is decorated with the mementos of the places it has been and the people it has met. As with all dragon lairs, the creature's magic plays an important role. A mountainside that has been the home of a silver dragon for a few hundred years will show signs in the weather. If you were to scale the cliffside to a silver dragon's home, you may find the weather change to help or hinder your progress, depending on your intentions. If you were to fall, a strong yet gentle wind may float you safely to the ground. This is telling of the dragon's protective personality and their impressive magical ability. All dragons are natural-born sorcerers, but only silver dragons have the ability to shape the clouds themselves. As a human blacksmith with steel or a potter with clay, a silver dragon can magically alter the clouds into whatever they want, making them as solid as stone. These cloud platforms are useful when traversing a silver dragon's lair, but you may want to be wary. Not all these clouds will be as solid stone, for silver dragons are born with a unique magical ability to walk on clouds. The more eccentric or paranoid silver dragons will use this ability to make lairs entirely out of clouds and have their homes simply floating in the sky. These cloud lairs are much safer and far more secluded than mountain lairs, but there is a cost. The obvious cost is that other flying creatures can still access them, but the less obvious cost is that clouds are difficult to enchant with any form of protective magics, making them rather less than ideal for storing a treasure hoard. Not to mention, enchanting the clouds to make them solid enough to hold up anything that is not the dragon itself is extremely tedious, consuming time and effort. A silver dragon would much rather use its time elsewhere. Silver dragons are highly sociable and find enjoyment in the companionship of intelligent creatures and people. However, unlike the brass dragons, who will talk to any creature for any reason, usually a selfish one, a silver dragon truly enjoys company. Above all, they truly enjoy the company of humans. You see, these dragons love humans, far more than any other humanoid. Elves are a bit too aloof and introspective, and dwarves, although not nearly as long-lived as elves, are far too grim for them to be any fun to the dragon. But humans are creatures of drive and passion, of grand ideas and ambitions. They possess a zest for life that silver dragons find fascinating and energizing. This fascination with humans is why silver dragons are some of the most active of all dragon species. Instead of spending decades or even centuries slumbering away in their lairs, they will go out into the world, adopt a human guise, and attempt to become part of human society. They have a desire to live as humans, to work in our cities, learn our customs and traditions, dress in our fashions, try our local delicacies. They truly enjoy the entire experience. There is one problem with this, however. Dragons are not the most stealthy or inconspicuous of creatures. The luxuries of human civilization are built for creatures that are human-sized, or slightly larger, slightly smaller. The silver dragon's true body is incredibly powerful, but it's also cumbersome and a bit clumsy, especially when trying to move within a crowded city. And even though silver dragons do not usually wish humans any harm, they understand that the sight of their true draconic form can cause many problems. Luckily, all metallic dragons are born with the innate ability to polymorph. A silver dragon will spend the better part of its life in the form of a human, adopting a human guise and living in some human city or town with its true identity a secret. After all, if its true identity were to be revealed, then one of two things would happen. Either it would be seen as some sort of protector or godlike aspect, which is rather awkward for a dragon that simply wants to enjoy the human experience naturally, or it would be driven out by fearful mobs and would-be dragon slayers seeking its treasure. Either way, its life as a human in that part of the world would be over. Silver dragons are emotionally driven creatures that form true bonds with intelligent beings, especially the humans they are so fond of. You see, when a dragon befriends a human, that friendship lasts for that person's entire life, usually even longer. Humans do not live nearly as long as dragons, so if a silver dragon befriends a certain individual, it may pledge itself to be the friend of that individual's entire family line, befriending their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren all the way into the far future. Such is the bond these dragons feel with their chosen companions. These bonds can even go a step beyond that, for a silver dragon is the only species that will trust a humanoid creature to guard its treasure hoard. No spying, no double-crossing, it will simply trust you to safeguard its most valuable possessions. That is the truest sign of trust for a dragon. Their extremely emotional nature and very intense bonding with lesser races makes these dragons into instinctual protectors. They are good by nature, battling against evil wherever they happen to find it, but only if they happen to find it. They do not go seeking out and purging all signs of evil within their territory as the bronze dragon would. Instead, the silver dragon chooses to wait. When questioned about this habit, a silver dragon was once quoted as saying, "Actions that cause harm are a crime, but actions that cause no harm is one's own business. All evils will show themselves in time, and I will not act until then." These dragons protect and conserve. They heal the wounded and keep the weak from being in the direct line of fire. That is the true reason that silver dragons have the nickname shield dragons. Sadly, there is a downside. Despite their seemingly endless amounts of altruism, a dragon by any other name is still a dragon. And dragons are, by their very nature, vain and somewhat greedy. Not even a silver dragon would view humans as equals. Wizards that have studied silver dragons claim that they only protect lesser species because they see us as children, incapable of truly defending ourselves from the greatest evils of the world. As with all living things, silver dragons will eventually feel the urge to reproduce. This species does so in a very unheard of manner. Silver dragons get married. A silver dragon will typically live alone in its mountain lair or in disguise within human cities. However, they do keep in contact with one another. A group of closely related families of silver dragons will form a clan, and each clan will stay in loose contact with one another. The leaders of these clans are matriarchs and patriarchs known as the seniors. The senior is the eldest member of a clan, and it enforces the clan's rules, of which there is typically just one. When you choose a mate, the mate must be from a different clan. Mating within the clans is strictly forbidden. Once the seniors of both clans have given their blessings to a prospective dragon couple, the marriage ceremony will take place. This ceremony is quite simple, with both dragons mixing their breath weapons, performing a kind of dance within the sky, and following a sacred vow. This vow is the Oath of the Conquered, and it is as follows: one flesh, one breath, one life. The now married pair of silver dragons will never again take another mate for the rest of their days, even if their current mate meets an unfortunate early end. Silver dragons may be more inclined to defend rather than attack, but they are still fearsome in combat. They fight defensively, waiting for their enemy to strike and then counter-striking. A silver dragon's twin breath weapons are complementary to this strategy. They exhale a freezing blast of sheer cold and razor-sharp ice shards. The cold is fatal to weaker creatures and can slow and debilitate stronger ones. The secondary breath weapon of a silver dragon is a magical paralytic gas. This gas is extremely potent and quite useful at stopping a battle before it even starts. A paralyzed enemy cannot muster defense, call for backup, cast spells, or take any harmful action against the silver dragon or its allies. It is common for silver dragons to recruit heroes and adventurers of the humanoid races to join it in the fight against some terrible foe. Typically, you will see a silver dragon gathering the help of adventurers to take down an evil and far larger red dragon. However, adventurers that choose to help a silver dragon face a chromatic dragon should be made aware that the silver may at one point go berserk. The sight, the smell, something about the presence of an evil chromatic dragon sends the silver into a killing frenzy, charging at their chromatic enemies, rending, tearing, and ripping in a truly horrific display of violence. It can be quite unsettling. Finally, if you were to have the privilege to experience a silver dragon's hoard, you will not be surprised to find the usual suspects. Gold, magical items, and jewels, usually diamonds, malachite, and sapphires. But what makes a silver dragon's hoard truly unique are the countless other items to be found. You may find recipes for cakes and alcohol, trinkets of little value, portraits of random humanoids, clothing depicting the history of fashion in their part of the world, and other keepsakes. These are what is most valuable to a silver dragon. Each item is a memory of the dragon's home, its travels, and the people it has befriended in its many centuries of life. And this, more than any other reason, is why silver dragons are my personal favorite.